Hey there everyone, Spazzy Dragon here, aka Syndrems, and welcome to my little 15 minutes of real life. Welcome to my office. Today, in this whole mess, we are going to take that old thing and make it into an actual PC. Now, I have this thing for a while now. It was one of my first ever PCs, so obviously, since I have a new one, I decided to throw this thing over here since I wasn't really afraid to let the whole fire extinguisher powder over there to actually kill it off, because holy shit, this thing does a number on electronics. And what happened is that this thing quickly became really outdated, and I mean, these are parts from 2002 to 2005, so some of these things are actually older than Freelancer is. And today we are finally going to take an upgrade and hopefully make it a little bit better. Now that thing is actually running Windows XP right now, which is obviously a really bad thing, because you don't really get support for it anymore. I do have a license for my company, so that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to upgrade it to Windows 7, and then we're going to get that Windows 10 upgrade. Anywho, so right here I have the new parts for this thing. Nothing too big. Also, that was my thermal paste. That kind of dropped down there. Technically, I'm only changing a couple of things, or at least two couples of things. The motherboard, the RAM, the processor, and the PSU, which actually I didn't think I would need to buy, but it turns out that the old one doesn't have a few select cables that this build will need. So obviously, this thing is going to be mainly used for documents and, you know, running my music in the background, because I actually do have a decent enough system made, like, for my office. So that thing is going to be running it. And the thing that I went for, first things first, all of this cost me about 60 bucks. So this is a AMD Athlon. It is a 5350 quad core. It is at around 2 gigahertz, so nothing fancy, obviously, but this thing does have an integrated discrete graphics, so that's a good thing, because this thing is running off of some sort of ancient FX NVIDIA card, which still uses like AGP, so that's obviously not really going to do. Now, the good thing about this is that I wanted to make a PC that would be running 24/7, and this thing, if I'm not mistaken, this thing had a wattage of, what, 25, I think? I'm not exactly sure. I'll probably find that out. And yeah, this is not AM3 Plus, this is an AM1 build, and just for that I also have a motherboard. So as for RAM, just went with a single 2 gigabyte, just a single slot, whatever. And this is the motherboard that we're going to be rocking. It's an AM1VM. And it's pretty much what you expect. Nothing fancy, but right now we are going to turn this thing off, and we are going to install all of these components into it, and hopefully everything is going to be running just fine. So, welcome to 2003 grade technology. Well, what can I say? All of these components are exactly what you would expect to see in a office PC. Obviously, there's nothing being done with this. Now, the reason, I just remembered, so the reason why I upgraded the PSU, I actually wasn't going to buy one. First of all, 300 watts, I wasn't sure how much this thing would draw. Obviously, it's going to be less than that, but I really wanted to make sure that nothing's wrong with it. And, right now, yeah, these are some really old components. Probably the newest component in all of this would be this wireless network card that we're actually going to just just like that. Hopefully, there we go. Not really too easy to do that with one hand free. And yeah, first things first, we are going to take all of this out, and we are going to clean the case itself, because again, fire extinguisher powder, nasty stuff, gets everywhere. And after we're done here, hopefully we can quickly assemble this and start installing all the things. So these are the insides of the old beast. That's a Intel Celeron something or other, single core at 2.4 gigahertz, sporting just under a gig of DDR memory. What sort of DDR memory? Well, just DDR. So yeah, that's a really old build, and yeah. So needless to say, this case is kind of shit, and it's really dirty, actually, because, again, powder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire up that big compressed nitrogen, and I'm going to clean the shizzle out of this. And hopefully in a moment, this is going to be clean enough for me to put the new rig into, which I actually haven't started assembling yet. So yeah. So with the case ready and somewhat cleaned up, it's time to start assembling everything else. So here I have a really shitty entry-level motherboard, which, interestingly enough, actually does have things like USB 3 and, you know, stuff and things, and it has a 5.1 audio, which is actually going to be pretty cool, because then I don't really have to use a splitter like I have right here right now, which you can't see, which is a problem, but whatever. And that's gonna be neat. So I'm going to be assembling this in a bit. We have SATA cables, which we're not going to use because the hard drives that I have over there are actually pretty old. I should have replaced them as well, but I wasn't ready to, you know, invest so much money into it. So that's the install disk. That's going to be okay. We're going to place it over here. That's the I/O shield, which we're going to install at some point. And there she is, boys and girls. This is a nice little... this is a really tiny... Like, this is a really tiny motherboard, like, compared to a laptop screen, I mean. So, we are just going to do that. And we are going to use this as our anti-static over here. And what we're going to do, we're just going to drop this thing in. We're actually going to also add the memory sticks. We're going to make sure that everything works first. And after that, we are going to place it inside, and hopefully everything's going to be fine. Well, poop. As I was assembling this thing, or at least unwrapping this, I quickly realized that this thing is not going to be compatible with what I'm currently making right now, mostly because the hard drive that I currently have has no SATA port. It still uses this old thing, and it means that I'm going to have to dish out some additional bucks for this, which is not really that big of an issue. I currently have this thing from a laptop, so I suppose this could do for now. Oh well. Well, poop. You know what, so the not graphics card, but the hard drive issues aside, I've never actually ever seen a AM1 design in my life, and this thing is freaking tiny. Like, in the past couple of months, I've been working with Phenoms, I've been working with FXs, and this thing is just incredibly tiny. This thing is incredibly tiny, and it comes with the what What is this? Like the thing that I glued onto my gaming rig's North Bridge. That thing is bigger than this. So, yeah. Also, never ever had to install one of these. I'm more used with the, with the brackets that come over onto these sides. So, yeah, just look at that thing. That is so freaking cute. Focus. Focus, motherfucker, focus. There we go. So we're just going to quickly install all of this, and hopefully everything's going to be fine. You know what? I swear, this is probably the smallest PC I've ever assembled. Like, this thing is tiny as dicks. Not as tiny as my dick. Wait. No. That was wrong. So yeah, we are going to upgrade from this to that. Now I'm starting to think about what to do with this case, because it's obviously a lot bigger than we need it to be, and obviously it's gonna make a lot of noise because it's just empty. Probably could make a custom one, a smaller one, a much smaller one, but I don't know. So obviously this will have to go, because who the hell uses floppies these days? The same actually goes for my disk drive, because again, no SATA port. So what do we even do with this? There's pretty much nothing I can take from this case at this point. So, boo. Oh well. Oh, that's my hand. Okay, whatever. I'm going to try and boot it up with the... where did I put it? What the hell? Oh well. I'm going to try and boot it up with the laptops thing, so just to test it out and see what happens. It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. I've installed the thingy from my old... Well, this is nice. But it's working! I'm currently launching it in safe mode because obviously it has all the old drivers on it that's meant for a laptop and not a desktop. But so far so good, and it's actually loading up and it's using the hard drive from the laptop, so wow, so far so good. Obviously I'm not exactly sure whether or not this is going to remain the case for long, but hopefully something's... Whoops. I just moved that poor little bin. But yeah, okay. Everything's working! Let's drink some more coffee from my flowery, cracked mug and continue with this bullshit. Well, so it's been about 2.5 hours now. I'm currently stuck here for a moment because this old optics drive actually doesn't have a SATA port either, and so I'm actually needed to kind of shuffle the whole install disk onto a mobile, hard drive. So this is kind of taking already a little bit too long. Can I just know just how freaking small that thing is? Like, this is a normal ATX case, and that thing is so small that you can't even see the motherboard through any of the holes provided in the case itself. And obviously I'm stuck with this old monitor, and yeah, currently stuck with a laptop freaking hard drive that is just jammed in there. It's not connected, it's kind of sloppy and messy, and but it's okay, I already made sure to order a new one, so that shouldn't be a problem either. Now I really want to kind of make sure that everything is working, so while I'm currently just making sure to copy everything. Also, holy shit, that's just like 2 gigs of stuff over there, almost 3 gigs of stuff. Yeah, actually, sorry, no. The fucking size is right there. It's almost 4 gigs of install stuff onto that freaking hard drive. So, while I do that, I'm just going to, watch some videos and actually get some work done, and hopefully I can do all this today, because I don't want to get stuck with this. Right now it's like 2-ish, so there you go. So far so good. Well, we have finally reached the point where we are just currently installing all of the doohickeys that we currently have. I haven't exactly cleaned it out yet. I'm still in the testing phase. It means I will in fact get a new hard drive for this and install everything properly, because there is a reason why this hard drive currently is with me. It's kind of facts, and on certain degrees I think it's nearing its lifetime, so I had it replaced. So this is just to see how this thing performs. I'm also just for the lulz going to install a game on it, and hopefully after that I can remove this old display as well. I'm going to install TeamViewer, set it as remote access, and it is going to go back to being my regular work desktop. Well, that's pretty much it. Was this worth it? I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to just have to wait until I get a little bit more information out of this. I am probably going to get a much smaller case for this, but for now, this is going to be sufficient. Not bad for 60 bucks, although I do admit that having to rebuy the optical drive, I suppose, and quite frankly, I haven't tried to use the printer yet, which was kind of my main concern, because this is a relatively old printer slash scanner slash fax machine, and it had some issues with Windows 7 before. I know for a fact that it has some issues with the 64-bit version of Windows, which sadly is installed on this thing, so I will probably need to reinstall it anyway. So with that in mind, hopefully I'm going to be able to finish this up soon, because it is currently nearing 3 in the afternoon. I'm closing shop in 2 hours, so I want to get this done as soon as possible. And obviously, I couldn't resist giving this thing a bit of a test through trial and fire and shit. Well, I'm currently running World of Tanks on this little measly computer with an integrated graphics and everything. And as you can see, it's actually not that bad. We're getting 43. This is considering the old one couldn't physically even launch the game, let alone play it. Now, obviously, this would be a little bit better if I had more RAM. I only have a 1-2 gig stick in that thing, so 500-ish megabytes is dedicated to the graphics, while everything else is dedicated to the actual system. And World of Tanks does mention that you need about 2 gigs minimum, so technically I'm currently playing underneath the minimum, and it's not that bad. Well, needless to say, I'm really happy with what I got for 60 bucks, and yeah, that concludes our today's little 15 minutes of real life thing. Ah! Yeah, not being able to look around is kind of problematic. Anyway, this is Spazzy Dragon aka Syndromes, and